Test, test, test. Okay.
Test, test, test.
All right. Okay. So I'm here with Remington to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, the what is it like 50th Marvel movie or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Um we're going to do let's just do all spoilers because I don't even want to try to dance around that. So this is
Sure.
just going to be full spoiler discussion on the movie. Remington, what did you think about Deadpool and Wolverine?
Well, Dan, have you ever been on Reddit?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Reddit the movie. It's point and clap the movie, right? That
Yeah.
they know that we're all little piggies and we all come for the slop. And even though I like to think of myself as above the swineherd, I still got to take.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing with me too. I feel like the obvious reaction to shitting on a movie like this so much is like, well, why did you go? Would so like I'm pretty much done with Marvel at this point. I'm not above enjoying a Marvel movie. I've seen pretty much all of them, but I fell off. I'm one of those kind of fell off after Endgame. I haven't really watched a lot of the TV shows. I've seen some. I don't think I saw the new Captain Marvel movie. I'm kind of at peace with the idea of just okay, I'm tapping out. And I was kind of enjoying the absence of Marvel for a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, I was just fully accepting and okay with, okay, we're done with this. It's over. I knew there were still going to be more movies. So the reason why I went to go see Deadpool and Wolverine was because I feel like traditionally, I mean, it's literally different now. It's now a Disney Studios MCU movie. I genuinely did enjoy the first two Deadpool movies. I think in a vacuum, the first Deadpool movie is genuinely great. And I really liked it. So I was like, you know what? I'm curious. I want to see it. And I had these expectations going in where I thought, look, I'm probably not going to like this movie. I didn't think I was going to like it. But at any case, I knew to expect a ton of cameos. They're doing the multiverse bullshit where it's going to be a million. That's the whole movie. It's going to be who's showing up, right? I was kind of expecting it to be something like my reaction to Spider-Man No Way Home, where when I watched it in the theater for the first time, you get that rush of excitement because, we grew up with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. So I ate slop in that one, where I was like, oh my God, just seeing Tobey Maguire hit me so hard.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. And they literally in the movie have pauses for people to clap. I was enjoying the ride in that one. But then
Yeah.
I also took the Twitter pill of, kind of after that movie, it was like, yeah, that movie in hindsight kind of sucked. Or just like it's it has no rewatchability, you know?
Yeah.
Like but like yeah, I was hoping to go into Deadpool and Wolverine and just enjoy the carnival ride and then leave and be like, "Hey, that wasn't great, but and I'm probably never going to watch it again, but I was enjoying the carnival ride, you know?" So that's why that was my expectations going in. Um but yeah, I wasn't prepared for how abysmal this movie turned out and how insanely just leaning into all the bullshit about it. And I mean, for me, what it really comes down to is this movie literally doesn't have a story. It was so thin on the plot, and I was just it kind of did the same thing that the new Doctor Strange movie did, where again another multiverse movie where the movie was moving so fast to where you can't even really think about what is happening because they have to do so much
Rise
in
of Skywalker syndrome.
right. Yeah, they put so much into it. It's like you can't just take a minute to just relax and breathe and almost it almost seems like it's by design in this movie because the story is so incoherent, um, and just is so confusing, unnecessarily confusing, that it's almost like they don't want you to think about it, you know? So I don't know. What any key things that you found particularly abhorrent about it, or what was your big hangups? Was it just the slop? Because I mean, the slop, I expected the slop, the cameo slop, but I was shocked at like how bad the story was.
I just don't think they're funny.
Well,
Like,
that's true.
I had the misfortune of coming to Deadpool a little later in life. Like, I didn't see them the first two when they were out originally. So I spent all these years hearing like, "Oh, this is the best movie ever. It's so funny and great, and it's just a great time, and it's subversive even." And I was like, and the first one was a big passion project for Ryan Reynolds. He always wanted it,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay. And then I was like, watching stuff, and I was like, why don't I check out these Deadpool movies? Because I was like, so like you mentioned Doctor Strange, right? So one of the big things of that last Doctor Strange movie is they were like, oh, Xavier, he's gonna be in this movie, and I was like, I should catch up on all the like X-Men movies and shit. I haven't seen all of them. I've seen the like core ones from when we were kids. That the original three.
Right.
Let me catch up on all of them. So that included the Deadpool movies, and then I saw the Deadpool movies, and I was like, this is not funny, guys. Like maybe if I was like 19 when the first one came out, I would have liked it more. But like, these are just not funny, and so like it's just the same trend of with this movie of it. Just I just don't think they're funny, and so every little gag is just like nauseating to sit through. Like this isn't in the movie, but that like little promo they had in front of like every movie with like just Hugh Jackman just like swearing into the screen, and then like Ryan Reynolds is like, you can't say that in the Netherlands, Hugh.
Right.
Like that just made me want to die. That's not funny to me. Like if you like, I'm not a Puritan. We've hung out before. I'm not saying you can't swear. I'm just like, if you string a sentence and like every other word is a swear word, that's not funny to me. I'm not 13
Right.
years old. Like,
No, of course I
um,
agree.
so it's like, all right, great, and it just wasn't funny. So it's just exhausting to sit through. I don't like that a large part of the movie is like, remember Logan? Yeah, fuck that movie, right? Like, and it's like that's not funny either. I don't think it works as like being subversive or edgy in any way because you can't both criticize a thing like it pretends like it's criticizing multiverses, it pretends like it's criticizing like multi-billion dollar franchises, but you are part of a multiverse, you
Right.
are part of a multi-billion. You can't criticize the thing and then also do the thing yourself. That doesn't really make sense. And so yeah, I just didn't really like it. I do think it's like not good for the Wolverine character. I don't really know, other than money, why Hugh Jackman would agree to do this. Like, it doesn't seem like he had a good time. Like, so yeah, it wasn't for me.
Yeah, you touched on. I mean, oh my God, if you weren't on board with the first Deadpool movies, God, I feel so bad for you for sitting through this because that's that's something. Yeah, I had a lot of thoughts about, like I feel like the first two Deadpool movies were not as were not as leaning into the ridiculousness, or they weren't, how do I say it? Like it wasn't so in your face about what they were doing, with the jokes and the slop and the, and when I saw the first Deadpool movie, I thought, at the time when the first Deadpool movie came out, it was subversive and it was different, and I did really like it because we weren't at that point yet where there was a million other subversive superhero things at the time. Like
Yeah.
so I was always curious, and then I think it was 2018 when the second one came out, and I thought it was fine for what it was. It was going a little bit further into like the ridiculous, like the jokiness. Um, and I was always so curious. I always would say to myself, I don't know how they're going to do another Deadpool, like a Deadpool 3. And I was thinking this when the second one came out. I was thinking, we're at the point where Deadpool started this trend, the original one, of doing the subversive, superhero thing. It started that trend. And now it's not only, to me, it's not only that superhero movies are so oversaturated, it's that now even the subversive superhero stuff is oversaturated. Like this movie is coming out in a world where we have The Boys, we have Invincible, we have like the Teen Titans Go movie. I remember was a big
Yeah.
like meta superhero thing. It's like we've done this. We've this is
Yes.
this is no longer a unique thing that Deadpool is doing. So I was like, how are they going to do it again when it's not a new thing anymore and it's already been so overdone at this point in the culture of the subversive superhero thing. Like, so I was shocked that they just didn't, they were just like, yep, we're doing it again and we're going to act like we're still so crazy and wild and edgy when it's like, you're a Target t-shirt. Like, Deadpool is the least edgy thing, like it's the most normie. It's like, it's the most normie. Imagine thinking you're edgy for liking Deadpool, it's like, you're coming from like Disney, it's insane. But yeah, so I didn't know what to expect, but yeah, I think the whole subversive thing at this point, it doesn't work and it rings so hollow. Where the first one, I thought it was fresh and new. But yeah, I mean, even if you go back and watch it now, like it doesn't age well because yeah, it was, I mean, it's certainly going to age better than this because it was like at the time, this wasn't something that so many other properties were already doing, where they were critiquing the superhero genre, and
Yeah.
like you mentioned, yeah, this basically becomes the thing it's making fun of. There was a famous line in Deadpool 2 that I heard that I would always hear a lot of people talk about. And I think it was in the trailer for Deadpool 2 where someone says something and Deadpool looks at the camera and goes, "Well, that's just lazy writing." And it's supposed to be like it's this sin, this cinema sin of like you can't make fun of the thing that you're doing while you're doing it and and think that that's like that absolves you of the issue, you know?
Yeah.
So like that is exactly what this movie does, which is crazy. Why don't we just, cuz there's so much I just want to like that that grinded my gears about this movie. Why don't we just start, let's just kind of go through it. So I when we first saw this, I saw it with our buddy Jason Thursday night, and it was a packed theater. Um, the opening of the movie, when we get that, you gotta start with an action scene. You gotta get the audience's attention right away. So it's always got to start with an action scene. So we get the TVA coming in, and Deadpool is just brutalizing them, and then the needle drop of InSync's "Bye Bye Bye." And for one, this was very triggering to me and this was on me, because I this year for the first time watched the Sean Baker movie Red Rocket. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Great. That's a great movie.
Yeah, it is. It is on. I love that movie so much. I'm obsessed with it. I've seen it so many times. It's on my top 50 of all time. I think it's a masterpiece. So, and of course, that movie heavily features InSync's "Bye Bye Bye." It opens to it. And so right off the bat I was like, "Ooh, like that's no, no, you can't." I mean, good. I'll give it to them. Like, good choice. I like that song. So I was like, okay, sure, whatever. That's just on me that I'm like, oh no, but like this small indie movie did it better, as I'm like twitching. But that's fine. That was an on me thing. What really was like, oh fuck you, was I think that scene would have worked so much better if they just played the song and just had Deadpool, like, the juxtaposition of Deadpool brutally murdering everyone. That could have worked fine. When he's like just obnoxiously dancing into the camera, I was so like, oh, it's literally jingly keys. Like, hey, it's Deadpool. Like, we're back. Don't you like this? Don't you love this, you little pig? Like, eat your slop, you know? Like, here, I was like, oh my God, this is for babies. What was your reaction to that? Because people are saying they like the opening scene.
Yeah, I don't like it at all because again, it's just like that whole opening sequence is like, remember Logan? Yeah, screw Logan, right?
Well,
Remember
right.
that
Yeah.
movie that we now own that like is Academy Award nominated and was like this huge sensation? Like, yeah, fuck that movie, right? Like, because he's literally dancing with fucking Hugh Jackman's skeleton, right? Like, what the fuck is
Okay.
that? That's
So much.
so wrong.
Right.
Like,
I see, and Logan is my favorite superhero movie of all time. That's on my top 50 too. Um, but yeah, I went in accepting like, yeah, I already, you see in the trailers, you kind of know the story where it's like they're gonna do something with Logan. Obviously, he's in the movie. They're gonna get like a different universe Logan, so nothing matters. But whatever, they just want Hugh Jackman. Um, yeah, that also raised a lot of questions too, because after the scene, they start getting into the TVA plot of it all and the exposition. I don't know why they went as confusing as they did with like this next 20 minutes when the TVA comes in, because okay, let's put it this way. So, like you mentioned, in that opening scene, he's digging up Logan in his grave, right? I was I was just asking these questions in my mind, not that even if they necessarily matter in the grand scheme of things, but I was thinking, okay, does this mean that Logan, the movie Logan, existed in the same universe as Deadpool? And or is this like a variant of Logan in Deadpool's universe, you know?
I think it's saying that the like Fox X-Men movies, which includes the Deadpool movies and includes like New Mutants, if you remember that,
Mhm.
they're all one timeline.
Right.
And like a unified thread is that a lot of it orients around Wolverine's personal arc because he's like, he's like 200 years old, and Logan is kind of like sweet end to that. So when they're like, oh, the anchor being died, it's like you would think there's no more stories to tell here, right? But we got that pesky Deadpool to come in and messes all the timelines because you know how DC has a Flash? Well, we over here at Disney have a Flash. And here
Right.
we go, so that's what I think it's saying, which is really funny because this movie was kind of billed as like, this is a fun night out. You don't have to do any work. You don't have to know anything. You can just go to this Deadpool movie. And it's like, well, actually, you do need to see season one and season two of Loki to actually understand most of the plot of
It
what plot there is.
Yeah, well, because yeah, because I was thinking because I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense that it's safe to assume that Deadpool is occupying the same universe as all of the Fox X-Men movie, which I haven't really seen many of the X-Men movies. I think I've seen like parts of one or two here or there. I kind of skipped that whole thing, so I'm not really familiar with the X-Men movies. But I was thinking, okay, if we're and this is not like any of this matters, but I was thinking to myself, okay, if because the first Deadpool movies always kind of danced around the idea that like he exists in the Fox universe. I mean, it makes sense because it was made by Fox, but it was, kind of that thing where it's like, is it in the same universe? Is it not? They always kind of danced around it. But then I thought, wait a minute, I don't know if Deadpool necessarily could be in the same universe as the Fox X-Men movies because his friend Colossus isn't Colossus in the other X-Men movies as a different person?
I don't know, but I always took it to mean that Deadpool is in the same universe because he literally goes to like Xavier's mansion, and it's supposed to be like a fun wink at like, oh, these are, our favorite characters are just off screen,
Right.
Because those like X-Men prequel movies, not really, some are prequels. They're like they do a lot of time travel, so prequel, sequel, whatever you want to say. Like they have a bunch of fun gags where like Hugh Jackman has some cameos as Wolverine because they're like, "You want to help us?" and he's like, "No, go away." And like
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like it's like similar stuff like that.
But it doesn't but as we will explore in just a moment, just because like he goes to Charles Xavier's house in Deadpool 2, that could be Deadpool's universe is version of the X-Men, you know? It doesn't necessarily mean it is the same X-Men from those. You get what I mean? Not that any of this matters, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I
Um
hear what you're saying.
so that's what I was
It's a little
thinking.
confusing
Right. And
because
I
Logan would even if he is in the same universe as Logan, Logan would be like in the far future from where whatever he's doing in his timeline.
That's true.
Um, so
Nothing
yeah, I don't know.
matters. Um
Yeah, nothing matters. Nothing
but
matters.
but then we get the scene where I was genuinely like, it took me 5 minutes into the scene to where I finally like, oh, this is what they're doing. Because then, and I like, why any of this is in the movie is like, so then we get a scene where Deadpool is talking to Happy Hogan in his office and he wants to join the Avengers, right? Um when I was watching that scene, I was thinking, wait a minute. And I get that they were kind of trying to blur this line a little bit because they're sitting in his office and he has a Captain America shield. I was like, wait a minute, is this supposed to be Happy Hogan, that he's talking to, or is it supposed to be a meta like he's talking to Jon Favreau and he wants to join because they reference the man upstairs and they're talking about Kevin Feige, that's the
Yeah.
joke. But I was still thinking, wait a minute, is this just supposed to be some meta thing where he's at like the Disney offices or something? Because just the way the office looked. But I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh no, it is Happy Hogan.
No,
Okay,
it was happy. Yeah.
right. It's supposed to be in universe. So I was like, okay, so that means now we're meant to believe that there is a version of the Avengers in Deadpool's universe that they're now acknowledging, but it's a completely different version of the Avengers, and now somehow that also exists in the same universe as the Fox movies. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
That is that confused me too. I was like, wait, I thought you were saying that he was separate and then he's trying to get a job? I'm confused here. Like obviously it's a callback to him trying to join the X-Men and like the previous Deadpool movies. But like yeah, it doesn't quite map here conceptually, you
well,
know?
yeah, it's like, well, that's the thing. It's like, okay, you're saying that there is a version of the Avengers in Deadpool's universe, but that's not the Happy Hogan that we know. Like
Yeah.
that's a different that's a fucking, I hate these stupid, it's a variant of Happy Hogan or something, whatever. God, I hate. So it's just a
Yeah.
weird, and the whole reason that's in the movie is to kind of have like this really incoherent arc about Deadpool wanting to join a team. It doesn't really, they should have dropped all of that. I mean, just the whole. So anyway, and then we get to the what's his name, Matthew McFinney, whatever, Mr. Paradox thing,
Yeah.
where the TVA shows up and we get this exposition where I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? And I'm like, dude, it's like, okay, there's an anchor point. This person is like a supposedly your messiah, this Wolverine. You need and but this is where I'm like, okay, no one that saw this movie, I swear, can tell you the plot. Because I'm like, why is Deadpool brought in to the TVA? Because it's barely mentioned. Like, why is Mr. Paradox even bringing him to the TVA? Because apparently or I guess he was brought up on charges of, oh God, and this is like of resurrecting his girlfriend, and then then he's saying, but you could be a hero, Wade. So he has like this proposition for him that's never explained. Am I on the like what how do you interpret this,
I
any of this?
don't even think it's his crimes because Deadpool's like, oh, is this because I did like a little time travel? That he's like, no, we're aware of your crimes. You're here because we just think that you're special, and we're gonna get rid of your timeline because it needs to be like, well, he would say it's usually pruned, but I'm trying to be ambitious and just like axe the whole thing and just get it over with. So
Which is like what? Like
yeah. So it's not to my memory, I don't think he makes it clear why he spares Deadpool, other than the fact they just think that he's special and we have to do a movie. Like I don't
it was I was like, why? And then even the thing where he has the machine and Deadpool says, "Holy MacGuffin," and I'm like, yeah, fuck you. Like I have no idea what's going on. Like this is so stupid. And
yeah.
then he does the thing where we get the big montage of and all of these like needle drops are so overbearing and just so again, it's like I'm just feeling the movie not respecting me and just like shiny keys, here's a hit pop song and now a montage. Like it don't yeah, we know that all of that exposition was really boring, so now we're gonna, oh look, it's comet accurate Wolverine, isn't that funny? And so that whole sequence, that was like a whole cameo fest kind of.
It's just a Rick and Morty gag.
Yes, you're exactly right. I was thinking in that exact same moment, I was thinking, oh, this is just a stupid fucking Rick and Morty thing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and I didn't even realize half of these cameos when he's, so I guess like they had Henry Cavill was one of the Wolverines.
Yeah, I didn't know much about that either. Like
I'm like,
I didn't know if
was
he was ever considered like
yeah, was he supposed to be at one point Wolverine? I didn't even know it was Henry Cavill until after. I was like, oh, that was Henry Cavill. I don't know. And then it was like, yes, they're doing the comic book accurate. Oh yeah, he's short. Ha ha ha. And then okay, so then we get the trailer scene where he finds his Wolverine, or the worst Wolverine, brings them back to the TVA. And this is my problem with Wolverine in this movie, where until like the halfway point of the movie, I feel like he has no agency and just doesn't like, it's still like all he does is just see a person, that must be a bad person, I will attack, because I'm angry and I'm Wolverine and I'm grumpy. He like, you're still bringing this Wolverine into another dimension, into like, he doesn't even react to the fact that like, oh shit, where am I? You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have that like, wait, so you're telling me there's different universe, Like there's none of that. He's just like, I guess I'm in this now.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I actually did a quick scan here, and per Screen Rant, apparently the Henry Cavill casting, that they were just honoring like years of fan speculation. Henry Cavill had never actually entered into serious talks to be Wolverine. It was never a thing studios were considering. They were just aware that fans had been wanting him to be Wolverine for a very long time, and they were like, "What if we took this Reddit post and made it real for 3 seconds?"
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I didn't even realize it was Henry Cavill at first. I mean,
Yeah.
I was armed for all of the cameo slop. I mean, when you're doing these multiverse movies, it's almost just expected now, which that I don't
Yeah.
anyway, so but yeah, so then they get to the wasteland, which is the place from Loki season 1, which I did see. And I'm going to go over this later. Like I was, it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm just gonna tweak these things. Like I can make a better movie. Like, or I could have done like a better story, or like here's how you should have done it. Much easier. So then they're in the void, or whatever it's called, like the purgatory thing, and that's where a lot of the movie takes place. And it's a very boring environment. It's just a wasteland that's just gray and CG and nothing around, and they try to do like, oh, it's a Mad Max ripoff, and none of that. Like when you're just doing a bunch of CGI shit, nothing rings like compelling. It just, and
Yeah.
like the fact that you're just, yeah, it's a Mad Max ripoff, haha. Like it's yeah, that's not interesting. Like the world of the void didn't even look interesting to me. That was a big problem. Like the location was just so boring. It didn't, and it just doesn't look real. It doesn't even look like they even shot in a real field. It's just that green screen, like it's like the end of Endgame, you know, that
Yeah.
rubbly like brown battlefield looking shit that we're so sick of. Yeah, and then we get the big cameo, where you know, you see Chris Evans, and when he when Deadpool was giddying and like, oh, he's gonna say it, he's gonna say it. I thought, I was like, yup, this is where they're going. I mean, obviously he's not gonna say Avengers Assemble. I knew it a minute before it happened. I was like, nope, they're gonna do. He's gonna be Flame On. It's gonna be Johnny Storm, and sure enough, that's what happens. And that's the one thing where I was like, okay, that's an appropriate cameo. That's funny. Yes, he used to be Johnny Storm. I actually didn't mind. Like, I thought the Chris Evans cameo was what I was kind of expecting in this movie. You know, how did you feel about the Chris Evans inclusion?
Um, in the moment, I was like, "Oh, that's fun. I haven't thought about this movie in like 20 years. That's a funny little reference. Fun to see. Good to see him back." But then I'm like, I actually don't want Chris Evans to be anywhere near this franchise ever again.
So
So I don't know, like
I
mixed
had I
feelings.
had some whole I thought this was so interesting because, you know, yeah, like I said, this was like, see, that was the kind of cameo I was expecting, to where like exactly something like that, where it's like, oh, you get Chris Evans, but right, he used to be Johnny Storm, so he's gonna do it's the Johnny Storm version. Like, that was the one part of the movie where I was like, that I don't mind that. I kind of like that. That was
Yeah.
cute. I was like, that's cute. Um, but was what I started thinking about, which I thought was so interesting, was when you think about all of the big like Marvel Avengers people, it's funny how the higher you get up, in a lot of cases, the higher you get up in how big of a Marvel star you are, it's like the worst career you have outside of Marvel. You know, where it's like, I was reacting to this new Sebastian Stan movie the other day, and I was talking about how, you know, it's so funny how Sebastian Stan, the sidekick to Captain America, is having such a thriving career, and I think it's like pretty unarguable that Chris Evans is easily has who was literally the number two guy, or like, you know, he was the guy.
Yeah.
He was the main guy other than RDJ, but he was the Captain America of the world's biggest franchise, and his career is so dead outside of Marvel.
So true.
And I think the only other person that might come close to that award would be maybe Tom Holland now. But I just thought, you know what? That actually, I should have called that. That makes so much sense that if any of the big names were going to come back in a cameo, it would be Chris Evans, because he has nothing else going on. And we just had Comic-Con this weekend, and I was watching, there was like footage of the Deadpool panel the first day, right? Where everyone comes out, and, you know, and they bring out all the cameos, and they bring out Chris Evans, you know? And it's just like, wow, he really, it's proving the Tarantino quote so true, where like the crowd cheers when Chris Evans comes out, but it's like, it doesn't have the same, it doesn't match of like, no, this is Captain America. This is the guy. And like, it's almost like it's that thing that Tarantino would talk about, is that it's not Chris Evans that's a movie star, it's Captain America. So when he's going out on stage as like the fifth build cameo in the new Deadpool movie, it's not a big deal, you
No, it's
know?
not.
Which I just found so interesting. So yeah, that was the whole thing with the Chris Evans of it all. But yeah, that was the one point in the movie where I was like, okay, that's fine. So then we get, you know, they're taken to the evil. It's the female Professor X woman, you know, whatever, just generic woman. Every bit in I'm trying to think of jokes that I found funny in this movie because obviously along the way there's so many bits. I couldn't think of one that I thought was funny.
Yeah, I like I said, I just thought this movie was painfully unfunny, and so I didn't really laugh at all. I can't remember a specific point. I might have like smirked here
Right,
and
you're just like,
there,
ah,
like
it's just
yeah, yeah, nothing that seriously made me laugh out loud. But to your point with Chris Evans, like, yeah, it's true. I mean, other than Knives Out, like everything else has either gone unnoticed or just was like bad. Like he was in Defending Jacob, which was like this miniseries on Apple TV. It was good, but no one paid attention to that. No one cared, right? Like he was
right.
like, but like some of the movies, like Ghosted, that was awful.
Yeah.
Lightyear, that was awful.
Oh, I forgot that that exists.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, yeah, he's kind of been like stuck without a paddle. I mean, I think people, from what I understanding, I'm not deep in that fandom, but people liked that animated Scott Pilgrim reboot on Netflix.
Oh,
And
right.
he's in that, but he's like in an ensemble. So it's like and it's animated, so you'd never know, unless you were like paying attention that was him.
Right.
So like yeah, it's very true. Another person I think about with that like MCU curse is like Jeremy Renner, who's Hawkeye.
Right. Yeah, that's
He's
true.
an Oscar-nominated actor. Like he
I
was a big deal in the early 2010s, late 2000s, and now he's like nowhere,
he was
doing nothing.
supposed to be like replacing Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. They were setting him up to be the new
Yeah,
like Mission Impossible guy. Yeah, you're right. I mean, with him, I mean, he's still I know he's on like that Mayor of Kingstown show that a lot of people like, but you're right. Yeah, I mean, ScarJo is going to be the new Jurassic. She does a lot of indie stuff. She's fine. But it almost just feels like the lower down the list you get more like, oh shit, like these people. I keep thinking back to Sebastian Stan of where he's probably, I don't think he's won an Oscar, but he's probably going to be. I mean, he's in everything, every great prestige thing. He's so good in. He did that Pam and Tommy series. Um, eh, um, who
if The
else? I mean,
Apprentice comes out, he could probably get an Oscar for
right.
that.
That's what I
I
was
don't
thinking of.
think it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, the Chadwick Boseman was like this insanely acclaimed actor. I mean,
rest in peace.
yeah. I mean, I mean, Chris Pratt. I mean, he's got other franchises, but he's his own thing. But
It's his
yeah,
own thing.
I just when they brought out Chris Evans on the Comic-Con stage for that is like the sixth most important cameo in the movie. I was like, wow, that is just
Yeah,
interesting. Like it was just not a big, but anyway, yeah. So I'm trying to like, yeah, and I think part of what we were saying about why, or at least for me, why I just don't, the bits aren't hitting with me at all because I think they truly are turned up even more in this movie than they were in the first two, but it comes back to that thing for me where it's like I don't find this funny because we're in a landscape where Deadpool has become such a cultural phenomenon and like it's overstayed the welcome almost like that that's why I was like how can they do this again where they should have done like a completely different approach. I mean obviously they wouldn't do that but yeah, so I'm trying to think. So then they're running around. I thought the worst bit, the worst ongoing bit that I thought should not have been in this movie was when they introduce other Deadpool variants in the
hated that so much.
that was so obnoxious. All of these back and forth bantering was
Rick
just
and
like
Morty ass bits. Like,
yes, Rick and Morty smashing my and that's the thing too. It's like we're at the point now where Rick and Morty isn't even like relevant. Like that's the thing that's a good comparison because we are in this point where it's just so overused. We've had things already that have like made fun of how much multiverse stuff sucks, and it's so yeah, then we get this ongoing bit with Dogpool and the other Ryan Reynolds nice pool, which was so
school.
unfunny. Everything with the dog, I was like, get it out of here. It's
I
too much.
know. And it didn't even make sense in context. So like Nice Pool is like, wait till you meet Lady Pool. She's my wife. And then once we get to that scene where they're like shooting at him and Deadpool is using Nice Pool as a human shield. It was like, don't they like Nice Pool?
Oh
Isn't
right.
he with them? Isn't
I
Lady
was,
Pool
I
married
was,
to him? Like,
I
why
was
are they
so
just
checked.
murdering him?
I was so checked out at that point, and it's like, you know what I think? It's almost. I swear the dog thing, because I have a comparison to this. I think it's like a marketing tactic thing. It almost seems like it was. It exists in the movie just to be
Sell plushies, like
or just to yeah, or just to be part of the marketing campaign where they needed to advertise something. They can't really go into spoilers. I mean, they obviously the trailers basically give you the story, but it's almost like they needed some sort of anchor to have in the press things, in the pictures, like so they had. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me a lot of when they were building up to the rise of Skywalker, and they were doing the press for that. I think it was at one of the Comic Cons. Um, J.J. Abrams was like, introduce, oh, this is our new droid friend, Dio, this little droid that like barely needed to exist in the movie. And it was,
who is
yeah,
that again?
what's that?
Who is that again? I
It
don't
was,
remember.
I'm telling you, it was in The Rise of Skywalker. It was like, there was this new droid that was only in like a small part of the movie. And it was like supposed to be another little cutesy droid. And it's like just a really boring design. And I swear that it was like in all of the promotional material, like here's the cute little new droid for Rise of Skywalker, and they like treaded it out on stage at Comic-Con, and I'm like, yeah, the only reason, and it has no place in the movie, and I'm like, this just exists to be part of the marketing thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that whole bit was that was the worst bit for me in the whole movie was the Deadpool variants. I was like, get it out of here. I don't want to see other variants of Deadpool. I hate this one to begin with. You know,
See, the one bit I came close to liking is when Wolverine and Deadpool were murdering all of the other Deadpool variants. I was like,
mhm,
yes, give the people what they want. Even though it's just like it's a long take fight sequence. They're not literally in a hallway, but they're doing a hallway
right, they're doing
fight.
the whole
Like
right,
so it's like, yes, they're obviously aping this from better movies. I would much rather be watching like Old Boy and Guardians 3. And obviously the whole Deadpool variant thing is they're like, oh, remember Spider-Verse? Ha 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 ha.
right,
We're a silly, jokey character with lots of variants who fight each other too. Ha ha ha. But then it didn't matter because as soon as that whole sequence was over, they were like, actually, they all came back to life.
right.
So it's like, what are we doing here, boys? Like,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
that was supposed to be the cheering moment when Wolverine puts the hood on, and which yeah, like, but then I
he
was
looks
like,
so stupid in that mask.
we'll get to the mask. But yeah, like in that scene, I was like, I wish they weren't like it was supposed to be right, like the big hallway fight triumphant scene where they're coming together, and I'm like, I wish they weren't fighting such a dumb adversary. Like it anyway.
Yeah.
So that yeah, that took some of the wind out of that sails for that scene for me, but
Whose reasons for wanting him dead are very unclear because it's like, yeah, Nice Pool's like, yeah, the Deadpools, they don't really like other people, like they're territorial. It's like, okay, that I guess makes sense in the context of the Void, but they've left the Void now and they're not necessarily aligned with Cassandra, right? So it's like, why are they bothering coming all the way out here to kill him? Like, what are we doing?
that's completely true. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, why were they attacking him? That is so true. I didn't even think of that. At that point, I must have just been so checked out.
You
Uh,
know,
but what we did skip over was the whole team up portion of the movie with the reveals of. I just, I just, I was like in the movie at this point. I was like, when at this point when they got the team up thing, I was like, oh, this movie doesn't. This movie fucking hates you, and it literally thinks you are the dumbest. Like, so they get to the cave thing in the void, and then it's like, okay, they do the big music reveal of I forget who the first one was, like Elektra, like comes out of the shadows, right? Um,
yeah.
oh, I just making sure you're still there. Yeah,
I was
so
listening to you. Sorry.
no, it's okay. So they first do Elektra, which I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And then like just immediately after they do the next one, and it's like we got to get this just do it quick. Like every single like just do it quick. Yep, it's the big cameo. All right, next one, big cameo, like a catwalk. Like, okay, here we go. This is what we got. Like there's no it's so naked in how it's like, yes, you know what I mean? It's like there's no there it's not a story. There's no pacing. The pacing is like non-existent is my point. You know what I mean? Um
Oh, it's that whole thing, that whole sequence of the void is like, what if we got all of our favorite action figures, some existed, some who didn't exist that you wanted to exist, and then just mashed them all up against each other. That's all it is. That's why there's no story. That's why it's literally a void. It is a void. We're just throwing things at each other. And now that you mentioned those cameos, I hated Channing Tatum Gambit so much, so much. Like he looks so bad in that costume. His accent does not work. And I know some fanboy out there is going, well, that's the point. It's supposed to be stupid. I'm like, then don't do it. It's
right.
not working. It's
I
not funny. There's nothing in the performance that makes me read the, oh, I'm supposed to think it's dumb. Like it just doesn't work, right? And it makes me kind of glad that studios never like went all in, pulled trigger on making this movie because it probably would have sucked. It probably would have been remembered
right.
like the stupid Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie that was also bad. So yes, I don't think it was good. It was painful to watch.
Right. No, it's funny like yeah, it all just feels so rushed. And what I think that scene also what about it just that whole thing seems so vapid is because they handled it the way they did where it's just quick team up. Yes, we're for some reason we've existed in this void for years. We're the outcast and only now are we going to try to rebel against evil Professor X girl. You know, it's like that. It's like, you know, right? Like that makes no sense. Like why it's just only now are they choosing to go up against her and challenge her. But I think with that scene, what that really does and makes the movie suffer in hindsight with those cameos and the way they're just hastily kind of thrown in there is it felt like they weren't even specific they weren't specifically planned cameos as and what I mean by that is it feels like they wrote the script and they basically made it to where none of them like they could be interchangeable to where it's
Yeah.
like it was like whoever's on the schedule at the time who has the availability and who is willing to do it is who
Yeah.
they could have plugged in anyone
Yeah.
into those scenes, you know? So it's like
Because it's
that's
just action figure mashing. That's
right.
all it is.
There's no reason why Blade is more special or has anything to do more so than any other cameo could have been, you know? Like none of them even have like some kind of line and the whole bringing in X-23 Daphne Kane, which they spoiled in the trailers. I mean, I actually think that would have been cool if they didn't show that. But you know, she comes back and again, the only reason she's in the movie is so Wolverine can have that kind of like his emotional arc, you know, because they try to remind you like yes, this is also a serious movie, you know, like where I think the first Deadpool movie and the second one handled the emotional beats. I think, in my opinion, I think the first two handled that very well. And now it's just like, yes, we have to have this. Like, it just again, it just feels so hollow. Like it's a checkbox, right?
Yes.
Now we're doing the emotional scene that Hugh Jackman gets by the fire pit. And everyone's like, "Oh, he's so great! It's such a great performance." I'm like, I guess. I mean, but because he's a
Is
great actor,
it? Yeah, like Hugh Jackman is a good actor, but like I don't think this scene is doing the work. Like he has no connection to this girl. He's
right?
sad
And
about
that's
completely other stuff, and she's
right.
like, "You shouldn't feel sad." And he's like, "But what if I do?" Like,
That's
there's
literally
no.
it. You're right.
It's like I don't. He's not her kid. Like he's not his. She's not his kid, right? Like it's not.
And
There's no connection here, right? It's very
right.
hollow.
And exactly. And what was I going to say? Up until that point in the movie, I just felt like Wolverine was just there. Like he was just angry like, okay, there's a person that we're supposed to feel like is our adversary, I will then attack. You know, like with the X, like he doesn't really do any of the talking. He's just standing there grunting like an NPC. You know, he just like I'm like they really they don't really give Wolverine anything to do in this movie almost. I know there's stuff later, but I'm just like this is so unfun and it's all just in service of these dumb cameos and bits that are so trashy and like
Yeah,
juvenile and so
absolutely.
yeah, so that scene with Daphne Kane, the right, it's like yeah, you have no you have no connection to this Wolverine. I don't even know if this Wolverine ever even had an X-23. I don't even think he did.
Huh?
I mean, but yeah, and then it's just supposed to be yeah, like my Wolverine. So that was like a whole, and that's like a whole problem from the jump, right? Is like this is a different Wolverine than like this is not our Wolverine. So it's like
Yeah,
it just inherently just by design like trumps a lot of the emotional weight of the movie. But again, it's made for just dumb babies that want to see. And again, if you like this movie, I'm happy, right? Like I'm not, but I'm just for me, like it's just again, it's just shiny keys. Look, it's the guy, it's the thing in the suit, you know.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
the yeah, the emotional that scene was like I didn't even like care at all. I was just like, yes, this is the checkbox they have to do. Um, so then they get to the fight scene, which is just visual slop with the evil Professor X girl. I don't know her name. And yeah, that whole sequence was whatever. They're playing like very loudly overbearing pop song. By the way, I didn't even know it was Channing Tatum until like halfway through the movie.
Really?
I didn't I had the thought. I was like cuz I didn't know who Gambit was. I didn't know that backstory of that he wanted to do a Gambit movie. And I'm watching the movie and I'm like cuz I was fully expecting yes, I was like there are going to be callbacks to the other X-Men movies that I am not going to know because I haven't really seen the X-Men movies. I've just seen Logan and whatever. So when Gambit came out, because he had that stupid thing on his head, I didn't even make that. I was like, and he did the weird like the accent bit, and I was thinking, oh, was Gambit in another movie where his accent was bad? And like you said, I don't even know what that was all about, the accent thing.
Oh, so the character Gambit is from New Orleans. So he's trying to do kind of like a Cajun Creole
Oh,
accent from
yeah.
like New Orleans. That's the bit. But
Oh,
Channing Tatum isn't doing it well. You can tell because he tries to do it and then you can tell in takes he's like slipping out of it a little bit.
right,
And then they try to patch over it with like Deadpool being like, "Can I speak to your dialogue coach?" And it's like, "No, you can't
right.
do this. You can't
Apologizing.
get away with
Oh,
this."
see, that's stupid. Yeah, that's so stupid because I thought the bit was, oh, this must be a character that appeared in one of the X-Men movies, and there must have been like a meme that that actor had a bad accent in the movie. I didn't know it was literally just they're doing the bit in the moment. Like, no, you have a bad.
Yes.
That's so shitty. Um, yeah, because then like after the big battle scene, I was looking, I was like, oh shit, is that Channing Tatum? Like,
It is Channing Tatum. Yeah.
I
No, because
I couldn't tell at first.
so the do you remember the 2009 Wolverine movie that was like a Wolverine origin movie at all?
Yes, I think I've seen bits of that. Yes.
Yeah, it's very bad. Anyway, that movie has a Gambit-esque character in it before he becomes Gambit, essentially, in the telling of this movie. Remy LeBeau, that's Gambit's real name. It's
Oh,
not played by Channing Tatum, but because of that movie, Channing Tatum saw that movie and was like, I want to be Gambit. I want to do a Gambit origin movie. Because the plan originally for Fox then was to do a bunch of like origin movies for your favorite X-Men, and that's how they were going to continue the franchise after X-Men 3.
right,
And it just never took off. It just never happened. So that's why
right.
they got Channing Tatum to be in this, and it was bad. It was not good.
Right.
It was not a good take on the character. So not my favorite, but no, it was funny for me because you're right. He doesn't look good in that costume and like his the ill-fitting headpiece, and it was really funny to me to see this not long after I saw. Did you see Fly Me to the Moon? That movie he did with Scarlett Johansson.
I skipped that one.
So a funny thing in this movie that I've not seen too many people pick up on is that throughout the movie, because this movie is set in like the hot Florida sun, every single T-shirt that Channing Tatum wears in that movie is see-through.
Oh,
Even in moments where it doesn't feel like it's supposed to, it's not like he's in gym clothes. Like he's just like in his office attire, and it's like you can see through his shirts. So like it's really awkward that he's supposed to be like in these scenes, like having like these serious melodramatic, because it's kind of a rom-com, you know. So
right.
like these serious like emotional moments, and you can just see his nipples like through
Weird.
his shirt. And so it's like it's really funny to go from this where he has like ill-fitting costume design to going to another movie which is supposed to have a higher budget where there's ill-fitting costume design. It's like, what are we doing, man?
Right. I mean, yeah, it all just that one went over my head. And then Blade, I was actually like I was halfway there where I was like, "Oh, Wesley Snipes." Uh I don't even think I've seen the Blade movies, but I know people
Neither.
I think people like at least the first one. I think the first one
Yeah,
is
they're well remembered for my understanding. I've never seen them either.
no, me
I
neither.
actually didn't realize that was Wesley Snipes at first. I thought it was Mahershala Ali, and they were teasing that like
Oh,
troubled like Blade production, or like, why don't we sneak him in here? And I was like, why is Mahershala Ali doing this weird voice? Like, I just thought it was him with like sunglasses and like, you know, like salt and pepper makeup in his hair, you know, that kind of thing. It was like, no, then
right.
I looked up on the phone really sly. I was like, oh, that was Wesley Snipes. Maybe I should watch these movies. I don't know. Like, like
I was kind of like, yeah, again, I've never seen it, but like I know who Wesley Snipes is, and I was like, "Oh my god, Wesley Snipes." Um But I was expecting, and this is just a weird me thing. The one biggest thing I know about Wesley Snipes is his whole controversy about like he went to jail for like tax evasion or something.
yes,
And
yes,
that's like one of the only things I know about Wesley Snipes. And I think there's stories about that he's like a prick to work with or something. I thought
yes.
they
So
were going to do because they did personal jabs at actors in this movie. I thought they were going to do a tax evasion joke, and I
oh
would,
yeah, yeah, me
and they
too.
didn't.
Yeah, so that tax fraud case is why he was never going to be the Black Panther, because he was originally supposed to
Oh,
do a Black Panther movie with like Spike Lee. There was a lot of different people who were trying to get this thing to happen for the
I didn't know
longest
that.
time before Marvel did it, but that tax fraud case basically killed him as like this big black celebrity,
Right.
basically. Um,
Yeah, no. I mean, I was like, "Oh, cool, Wes." But again, and again with like the Electra and the whatever, like to get the team together and they just drive the car into the base. It all just meant nothing to me because I knew after that sequence was done was yeah, this was literally just who they could have gotten. I can almost guarantee they wrote that script specifically so they could just slot in whoever's there and willing to do it. And like because at the end of the day none of them have really any impact on the story, or just that couldn't have just been done by any other cameo or like little team up that they
no,
had.
I was like, and so they
It was
get out of the
literally
void,
just
and I'm
to
like,
see them.
yes. And once they get out of the void, I was like, so you just left them? They were
Well,
your
that
friends, and you
too.
just left them?
I was like, again, and this was all done within like 5 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
all just like, yes, okay, we'll help you. We'll do a team. Um, and yeah, they do that whole battle. And yeah, I was like, oh, this is it. We're done with them. I almost kind of didn't care. I was almost kind of happy because I'm like, yeah, they weren't doing anything. Like, they're just, it's again, just distracting from Wolverine and Deadpool, the main people, because it's like they just have to bring in all of these other characters. So I was kind of like, I was almost kind of fine with that they were just leaving them there. But yes, like, oh, I didn't know they were under the understanding that this was like a suicide mission or something. Um, but because again, doesn't really make sense how they've just been living in this void for years, and only now do they decide to take on this woman that's overruling the land. I get anyway. Also, what made no sense in this sequence was evil Professor X girl. She just drops this idea that oh yeah, I have a Doctor Strange ring. Why?
Yeah.
And wait, so Oh, so so you're just using it now. Like
Yeah,
you've had like they just again this is and the movie is moving so fast that I'm telling you they don't even want you to think about this like because
no,
it all happened so quickly. I'm like, wait a minute, so you've just had this ring that you could have left at any point, um
yeah.
and again makes
She
no
just really liked
sense.
Mad Maxing, bro. She just really liked doing her Mad Max thing.
I guess, and I guess she does say that she likes it there, but I don't know. Made no fucking sense. And
No, it
then
didn't.
and then there's this whole other thing that I think most people forgot about. There's also this whole other side plot going on where uh uh Mr. Paradox has like this guy going after them in the void, like Pyro or something, this flame guy. Do you remember this?
Yes, I do, and that's another wink and nod to the X-Men movies, 'cause I'm pretty sure that's the same actor who played Pyro
Oh.
in like, the core 3 X-Men movies.
See, I knew it was something. I think I
Yeah,
heard them say pyro and I was like, okay, that's something. But yeah, I'm like they would cut back to him like every 2 minutes and like he kind of like or not every like only he it was this really weird and again unnecessary very light subplot that just had no reason to be there. Like it was just cuz then the evil Professor X girl kills him, and I'm like, what was his point of being in this movie again? Like this is just things that plot elements that just don't need to be there, and you're just shoving it in. Um,
it's true. No, it's true.
I
Really,
guarantee. Go ahead. What?
I was gonna say, really, the comparison here with this movie is, and you made it earlier, is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness because it's kind of just doing the same thing, but worse because it has none of Sam Raimi's like, auteuristic flair where that movie is like it's not great, but you can appreciate what Sam Raimi at least wanted to do with it when you can see all these like cool little horror elements that don't
Right.
really exist in a Marvel movie otherwise. Because it's kind of the same thing where it's like the characters, something they don't like in their life is going on, and then they get sucked up into like a weird multiverse time travel adventure. And you see a bunch of different variants of characters that you've always wanted to see, or maybe you had seen before, and that might tease other things and did attempt to loop in the X-Men, right?
Right.
And then it suddenly changes everything once they're back. Like it is kind of the same thing, but like let's do a R-rated raunch com that doesn't really make sense thrown in.
Yeah. Exactly. No. And yeah, again, that was one of my biggest complaints of Doctor Strange. Too was yeah that rushed plot. I mean, when you're mixing multiverse shit, um, multiverse plot with pointless cameos because we can, and just you have so much going on in this plot where you have to like explain all of this stuff and make time for the big cameos. It's like, and then it almost forces the movie then to have this extremely rushed pace where you can't breathe for 2 seconds, and that is like the worst. That's like the worst, like formula. You know what I mean? Like it just
Sure.
it But yeah, hold on. I gotta pee so bad, and I'll be right back.
Aren't we live? Like,
What?
are we live?
Yeah, who cares? I don't have that many
Okay,
subscribers. I'll edit it
it's your
out later.
show.
Yeah, give me
Cool.
1 second. No one cares. Are you kidding me? These live streamers, man. I could do whatever I want. I should just when when I'm gone, just give me 2 seconds. I should literally like just put up like just start playing Avengers Endgame on Disney Plus or something. You know. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Sure, sure, sure.
Sorry. uh, so yeah, so where are we at this point? So where do they go once they jump through the portal? Is that when we get to the big city scene?
Yeah, that's when they get back. That's when they get to the back to the city, and there's the fight with all the other Deadpools, and that's where Cassandra follows them through and declares her intent to steal the Time Ripper and use it to like I don't know, conquer the multiverse or some shit like that. I don't know. Her plan was not that clear to me.
Just world domination, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, look, again, at this point, there's some stuff I don't even care about. Like, there's stuff, or I should say, stuff that is just way worse than just the villain has no, like, at least I understand, at least that's some, like, a motivation, right? Like, I'm like, I don't even know fully understand what Matthew McFinnihy, what Mr. Paradox is even trying to do at this point. I don't understand. So like, okay, so we talked about the whole Deadpool annoying action scene with all of the hallway scene. So when so when he puts on the mask, uh I look, I'm glad they did the mask. Uh I understand why it was only a very short period of time, but if this is the last time he's going to do it, I give them credit for just giving it to us once.
I
Uh,
hate him so much.
However, in the reveal, and that was the only point when people like clapped in the theater when he put it on. It was so awkward how he pulls it up over his head like a hood, and it's so clearly the most awkward CGI include, like, you know what I mean, like the way he just
Yeah,
it looked and again, like, I'm not usually the one to give a shit about CGI that much, you know. I'm just kind of desensitized to it. I don't like CGI environments, that drives me nuts, but the way his hands pull the hood over, it looked so fake when
yeah.
just him interacting with it. And that was the moment, that was the reveal, and I'm like, oh, that looked bad.
It looks like a kid's Halloween mask that just doesn't fit on his head because he's an adult. Like that's what it looks like.
I'm wondering, because, like, for example, like the Batman cowl, you know, like when they're adapting superhero suits to live action, they will make adjustments to make it look less ridiculous. Like, for example, the Captain America helmet doesn't have the wings, or at least it just has like wings as like a graphic on the side. He doesn't literally have
Yeah.
wings. So they make like modifications like that to make it look less ridiculous. I wonder, like, was there any way they could have made that so where it didn't look so stupid? I mean, I guess not. Like,
Yeah.
um,
I don't know. I hated it because the whole thing read like you know that like Simpsons meme where the kids are all staring at Bart and they're like say it and then he like sadly mumbles like whatever the meme
eat
is
my
like that's
shorts or
what it
something.
is. It's just like do it Hugh and he's like okay and he like puts
Yeah.
the mask on and everyone's like yeah like
I,
it's like why are we doing this to him like
I was
let the
I
man do his gay little musicals.
yeah, I was fine with it. But yeah, I just the actual moment itself, the clapping moment, I was like, "Ooh, that didn't look good." Like, but yeah, I kind of just accepted it. I knew they were going to do it at some point. So like that was one of the things where I was like, "I accept it. I know it's coming."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they do the dumb they might as well have done Beam in the Sky third act, you know? Like
Yeah.
it again, it's like and then right, and I'm just thinking about it because also at this point, I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, you're in they're now in Deadpool's universe. They're in generic city New York City, I guess, scape, and it looks
Biggest looking New York
right.
City I've
I was just gonna
ever
say,
seen.
looks so fake. Like that's what I mean. Like they don't respect you. Like they're just like, yeah, like no one's gonna care about this. They just want like it doesn't matter that this feels so fake. It's just they want the slop. You know, they want the third act slop. You know, that's what they're doing. And and again, yes, at that point, what I didn't even mention was at that point, that's when Deadpool has that line before they fight. The Deadpool's is like, look, guys, multiverse stuff sucks. This all sucks. It hasn't been working out. And I'm like, this is what you've been doing for the past 2 fucking hours, and you've been doing it horribly. Like you have been the biggest offender of this, you
Yes,
scumbag. Like,
literally.
and I'm like, it doesn't make it okay, you fucking asshole. Like, oh, that made me so angry, you know. So yeah, so then that happens. And that's the thing too. When they get to the third act thing where it's okay, evil professor girl is got a hold of the death machine and she's gonna do the thing. We gotta stop her. All you get is like this quick line of Mr. Paradox in the subway station. No, you don't understand. This energy is made of some kind of particles that will actually kill you. Like he might as well have just said it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just the explanation of why is this dangerous to them. Like he might as well have, like the laziness of it all of just no, this is actually like there's he might as well have just have said no, you don't understand, this does have stakes, and that's it. Like he might as well have just
Yeah,
looked at the
literally.
camera and said that, like, no, you dumb idiots, this, you dumb stupid audience, this, yeah, there's stakes to this. And then, so yeah, you get that build up to where like they have time to like go walk down the hallway and confront her. Also, thing that drove me nuts. Um, when they're in the fake New York City, they did mention in the beginning at some point that like the TVA functions or has like a station or something in the subway station. Why is it that they're just out in the open in the subway station with like all their computers and shit?
I don't know. I
That,
read it as like
like
some kind of weird Narnia thing.
like
I don't know.
like are they supposed to be in like we're supposed to be in the middle of New York City. They're just there
Yeah,
like in the subway station. Anyway, who cares? Nothing matters.
nothing matters.
But so then before they do the big third act like oh sacrifice thing, I think at this point this is when they get the weird, this is the point, and this is what drove me nuts too. They get the weird clip show of Deadpool like flashing back to like the older movies and conversations he had with his girlfriend. Do you remember this?
Mm, yes, in the movie, yes, I do.
It's supposed to be like the flashback, like, and that's supposed to be his
Yeah,
emotional
yeah.
moment. I I don't know what Deadpool's arc is supposed to be or what is hit. Like it almost just felt like they literally just played the sad sentimental music, played clips from the older movies and other things, and just some weird scene that he had with his girlfriend, and it's just supposed to tonally tell you that this is a sentimental arc, but I have no idea what they were trying to communicate. Like, actually incoherent. I didn't know what that was supposed to communicate about Deadpool's arc. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you're very right because like is his arc just I broke up with my girlfriend and then I got back together with my girlfriend and then I broke up with my girlfriend and now I hope to get back together with my girlfriend, but I can't do that if my whole world ends. So I'm gonna team up with Wolverine and make really weird, uncomfortable sexual comments around him the entire time, and that's maybe that'll get my girlfriend back. I don't know. Like,
It's so convoluted. Like, and that maybe this is me. I don't even really remember Deadpool saving his girlfriend at the end of the second movie. Did he? Was that an on-screen thing that happened at the end of Deadpool 2? Did he bring her back to life at the end of the second one? Or is that
I
some
think we did.
or is that I thought the end of Deadpool 2 was just him like he just had the time device and then he was just traveling, like he just was getting sucked through portals and that was it. I think him bringing back the girlfriend was something that they did off screen and he just mentioned it in the movie, where, because I was like, I remember starting watching this movie and I was like, wait a minute, she's dead. I was like, when I started
Okay,
watching.
so he was in a mid-credits sequence. I'm looking it up right now. In a
Oh, he brings
mid-credits
her
sequence.
back.
Yeah, in Deadpool 2, they fix the time machine. He brings her back, and then that's the same sequence where he goes and kills the other version of Deadpool
And
from the
baby
Wolverine
Hitler.
movie.
Yeah.
That yeah, and Baby Hitler. That whole like joke bit. And also prevents himself, the real Ronald Reynolds, from signing on to Green Lantern as like another little gag.
Right,
It's
right.
from that whole sequence that he does that.
It it
But
ma-
like, yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
It makes those bits feel quaint, in my opinion, compared to like the
Yes, it does.
the slop that they're doing here. Um yeah, so then we get like the whole save the timelines or whatever. And then yeah, then the movie's kind of winding down. And again, like at one point Ryan Reynolds literally says like, "Don't worry, we're getting there," or like he makes a reference to the runtime or something.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, this is literally like, that's where I was like, that's why I gave this movie like a half star. I was like, it's insulting. It's literally like they just don't respect you. It's like shiny key. I hate to keep saying it, but it's shiny keys. Like, it's made for people like with attention spans of like 2 seconds, and they just want the slop. And I know it's a broken record at this point, but so then, yeah, then we get to the end. It's all resolved. Whatever. I don't know. And then we get the part where they're sitting there having food, and the whole motive. This is why, again, I think Wolverine was terrible in this movie. When his whole motivation was, oh, the TVA, excuse me, can fix your universe, and make it so you're not a loser somehow. And then at the end, there's like 2 lines of dialogue where it's like, sorry, buddy, I guess your universe is doomed. And he's just like, meh, that's okay. That was literally it. That was the
He's just
resolution.
like, yeah,
He's just like,
he just
yeah.
decides to get over it. Like,
He's just like, oh, all good, man. Haha. Like, that was it. That was literally the conclusion. And when they had that other scene when the Professor X girl is in his head and he's like having all of these, this trauma of, oh, the X-Men were killed under his watch or something, he was drunk. Again, they don't really, none of it's explored because they don't have time to. And it's like, it again it's ringing even more hollow because this is not our Wolverine, right? Like it just,
yeah,
it keeps coming back to that. So yeah, but this was where I was like shocked of like how poor the writing was, where it's like, yeah, he's just like, okay, I guess that's fine. My universe is doomed. It's all good, man. Like that was, and it was like 2 lines of dialogue. I was like, wow, they really just do not give a fuck. Um,
oh,
and then that's it. And then Wolverine lives in the universe with Deadpool, and I think that's basically it. Like, I don't understand. Like, and then like, so when it's over, I'm thinking, what was the point of all of the like joining the Avengers about? What was any of that for? Except for just promotion.
yeah. It's the purpose of this movie, and it makes it very clear. They're very upfront about it. The entire movie and in the marketing is it's a reset, right? It's Marvel saying something's not working. Maybe this could work. And by the way, we still have something maybe in the bag for future movies. That's kind of what it is, and they're just using the Deadpool character to do that for them. So them being like, yeah, Deadpool, you get to join the team, is because they don't have a clear roster for the Avengers anyway. So it's just keeping that open to the idea of we could bring Ryan Reynolds back another time in like 5 years when the next Avengers movie comes out, or we can sneak him in other things, in different little cameos too, right? Like that.
Right.
That's what it is.
Right. And that well and that's well, yeah, cuz he saves his universe and it doesn't even end with him being in the Avengers universe.
Yeah.
Wait, now that I think of it, he's never actually in the Avengers universe once in this movie, right? He never goes to like their universe. Am I wrong?
Maybe. I mean, is their universe what they mean by the sacred timeline?
Yes. I don't think he never goes to it. It just feels
Maybe.
it just feels kind of like a blue balls thing where it was like and then there was the whole bit where like why is Thor crying on the TV screen? Like they showed Chris Hemsworth holding Deadpool and I thought that was going to come into play. I thought we were going to see Chris
Yeah.
Hemsworth at some point. Like I thought the Avengers were going to actually have some of them or something was going to have some part in this movie, but they literally didn't. So I was like, what was that for? Please don't tell me that was like a tease for another movie that might happen at some
Probably
point.
gonna be. It's probably what's gonna be. They're probably gonna have to put him in another movie now, or at least leaving themselves open to put him in another movie now.
And that's the what I thought this movie was going to be, and I think I've heard other people say this that didn't like it. I thought this, and maybe this is just dumb on me at this point, I thought this was going to be the end of the multiverse. I don't know how they haven't done that yet, because it's been so mocked and so made fun of for so long now of how much, and I feel like fans, actual fans, don't like the multiverse stuff because it just sucks and like nothing matters and it has any weight to it and it's confusing. So I'm shocked that they didn't take this movie to just end it and like destroy the TVA or something, or just you can write in anything, right? Like they don't give a shit of like you can just write like where this is like, okay, all of the timelines are sealed up. There's absolutely no way in hell that anyone can cross over to a different universe, right? Like I was
Yeah.
expecting that, but instead they just opened that hole even wider because now I guess they have to have, as we learned last night, I guess now we have to get RDJ back in again as Doctor Doom. So they're going to keep the multiverse shit for a while, which is
Yeah.
so disappointing.
Yeah, I think it's like a sunk cost fallacy thing for them. They've already invested so much in doing a multiverse thing that it's like, and we have nothing. They have nothing else in the old like think tank about what else they could do and
I
pivot to.
guess.
And so
I
it's
mean,
like, well, we just need to find some way of replacing Jonathan Majors, and I guess RDJ likes money, so here we go.
right?
Like
So like here's I hate to do this, but like I was going through this, or I was kind of thinking about it after the movie. Like, here's how they could have done it. Very simple. Like in my opinion, especially when you're dealing with timeline stuff, and in a lot of cases, like yeah, when you're doing the timeline stuff, you gotta make these plots simple, especially when they're this dumb. Um, you know what I mean? Like, so here's what I would have done. Right? I'll just give you the outline. Um, movie opens. Deadpool 3. uh Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, he's hung up the Deadpool persona. He's living his life. Just because he doesn't need it anymore, right? Like he hasn't had any adventures, so he's just happily living with his resurrected girlfriend somehow and he's just having fun. And I would have liked to include in the friend group in the little get-togethers Zazie Beetz and maybe Josh Brolin. I don't remember if he stays in the universe, but I I like it, like because I kind of like Deadpool too. It's like why, like so now it's like because we don't have the money, we can't include the characters that you were building up in the last movie. Anyway, um, so he's living life with them. All of a sudden, big tragedy happens. He gets um some his universe gets destroyed in the opening in this very big kind of like how the beginning of Deadpool 2 started with the tragedy of the death of his girlfriend. You make the opening to Deadpool 3 very emotional, where basically his like kind of apocalyptic, his world just starts crumbling, and the universe dies, and the TVA shows up and takes Ryan Reynolds at the last minute, um, to bring him to the TVA. Right? You follow?
Yeah.
So okay, so he's big tragedy, big, and it's like he's in the TVA and he's like, what the fuck just happened? They explain to him, hey, your universe was just destroyed. For some reason, because it was, I don't know, you can make up just some kind of reason why it was destroyed. Like there was something about it, or it reached its end point, or something like that. Or because the Fox movies are over, you could just say it like that, like it's reached the end point. None of this anchor character bullshit, right? And Deadpool, immediate emotional beat where everything he's ever known is dead, and he has to reckon with that. And they say we took you in because you did the whatever, you resurrected, you fucked with the timeline, so we're taking you in. And because we are punishing you by, instead of just dying with the rest of your universe, we're banishing you to this purgatory void for all of eternity to suffer. Right? And there you go. That's a simple way to start it.
Sure.
Um,
Uh,
and
I mean,
then go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, with time travel stories, I mean, if you want to look to like the Bible on that, you just look at what any Doctor Who writer has done like over the last like 60 years. Like you can just make up whatever you want and impose whatever arbitrary rules you want, because in their case you had the Time Lords just like changing things and doing things. In this case you have the TVA changing and doing things. You know, the TVA are kind of pitched as like angels in a way.
Right.
And so yeah, you're right. They can
It just,
change
to
things.
me, that's cleaner. Like just quick, and it
Yeah.
gives immediately, like, not this anchor point and then we have this machine. Why? What? Like all of that is too much. And it just gets muddier when they had that really offhanded scene with Happy Hogan, which then is like, again, brings up, and that is like right before they start doing all the confusing exposition, because then it's like, wait a minute, so now this is a universe where a version of Avengers exist anyway. um so yeah, you do that, get an easy emotional beat where everything he's ever known is gone. There's no bringing it back. Like you're fucked. Immediately gives Deadpool like the motivation and the like, or he's like depressed and is like, nothing matters. Everything I've ever known is gone. He gets thrown into the void. And like that's his punishment, to just suffer forever and live for, that is his punishment, because now you have to live knowing that everything you've ever known is gone. You know what I mean? Like, and so they throw him into the void, and in the void is where he finds the variant Wolverine that was a failure, and he got thrown in there too. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be my thought. Like that's a much cleaner, quicker way to get them together, and then truly make it like a road trip movie. Like sit it. I mean, again, this is like what I want. That will never happen, but like make it kind of almost like an indie thing, like where they're traveling, they have to get to somewhere, um, to get, even just to get out of the void, like they're trying to find some way to escape the void somehow. And then you can have your little cameo fest, like the void is just right, like a sandbox for cameos and action figures and people that got rejected. That's fine, they encounter them, but like have them driving like in this like kind of dystopian like alien world, like, but it's kind of nice looking, and just having them reflect on, having conversations instead of just mindlessly stabbing each other, two guys that can't die. Like having them like reflect on what they want. Deadpool may, like, maybe Wolverine gives Deadpool a reason to care again. You know what I mean? Like that's what could have been the movie. And you could have, had your little cameos here and there, and then the end have it to where they defeat the evil overlord of the wasteland to get out of the wasteland, because maybe she was the only thing in their way to get out of the wasteland. And then where they end up at the end is like the last shot is like or maybe like if they didn't want to keep Hugh Jackman, like Hugh Jackman gets into like a different portal to where he goes back to his universe, and Deadpool just decides like I'm just gonna pick a random one and I'm just gonna go there because like I don't have any purpose anymore, or like I just don't know. So he just steps into a random portal, and then like last shot is him stepping into New York City, and he looks up and it's like the Avengers Tower, and then credits. Like right, like there you
Yeah,
go. Like that would have been
that's
the
the
movie.
movie.
That's the movie, and
Yeah,
that's good. Like that would have been good, but it's like just all of the confusing bullshit. And now, like so now, if they want him to be in Avengers, they're gonna have to do a whole nother like confusing multiverse thing.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, yeah, like that's the thing. What was also so frustrating about it to me, and like I don't mean to do the thing where it's like I could have done a better movie, but like it's just that thing where sometimes you get in your head, it's like, oh, like if you just fix this and do this, and like it, like you see, like, oh, this I just had in my head, like this would have been such a cleaner path and so much more satisfying. You could have had actual character moments, you know. But obviously, no, they just went right into the slop.
For sure. No, it's funny because they've kind of run themselves into the same problem that like actual comic books have, where
Hmm.
you develop such a messy, convoluted lore and serialization that it's like pretty much inaccessible and impenetrable to someone who hasn't been like following it for 30 years.
Right,
And so that's why they frequently in the history of comic books, both DC and Marvel have experienced this, where they need to do these push these big reset buttons and
right,
just start everything over from scratch so new people can get in. And it's funny that they kind of like have worked themselves into a similar situation where this is like obviously a meta problem that goes far beyond Deadpool 3, but it comes from the
right,
same urge where it's like, oh, we gotta get the X-Men in here somehow. We gotta get the Fantastic Four in here somehow. And we gotta get the Blade in here somehow. And it's like, well, how do you do that? Well, we gotta create this big multiverse thing where there's all these different timelines. You have to mix it in, and then a normal person is just sitting here like, what is any of this? What is going on? It's like, yeah, I can laugh at Deadpool, but I don't know who these other people are. I don't want to go watch this Disney Plus show. Like, I don't know.
right,
So yeah, it's very messy. It's very unclean.
right. And then it's kind of the thing too where when you're doing it through multiverse stuff, I mean, right, this wasn't a reset button. This was I guess saying goodbye to the Fox universe, kind of. Who even knows? For all we know, I guess there was an end credit scene of Captain Marvel 2 or whatever where they show Beast or whatever. So it's like just they're going to keep doing the multiverse thing where nothing matters, and it's like, and that's what I mean, like I I kind of came to the realization at the end, wait a minute. Deadpool's not even doesn't even end the movie in the Avengers universe. So this time when they want him to come into the Avengers, they're going to have to do a whole nother thing of this
Yeah,
bullshit where somehow
yeah,
he like and that's what I mean. Like I was expecting, and I know some other people were too that I've heard talk about, was I thought they were going to do like a definitive, like, yeah, in the process of somehow getting transported to they destroy the TVA. There's just a definitive like dialogue exposition to where now the multiverse literally cannot be pierced. It's done. But all that says to me by keeping that door open is like they intend to keep using it. And right, and you made a good point to where it's like they need to use it again because they need to bring in the Fantastic Four and the X-Men that they're still doing. I just don't understand. I guess they're kind of what they're kind of running into now when they want to start setting up these new heroes is the thing with the Fantastic Four is like they can't be in the same timeline because you start running into like, okay, where were these guys in the
yeah.
beginning? And they can't, and that's another thing I've noticed too over the years. Which I think is actually smart, they've stopped doing the origin story, or they've at least tweaked it quite a bit to where
No.
because they understand like we can't just keep doing like an origin story for every new hero. We have to like, which what I thought the smartest way that they did this for two characters was Black Panther and Spider-Man, was where they had them show up in a team up movie first, and then did their movie where they were like to me it's excusable to where it's like, okay, Black Panther, he was in Africa and he like they're a secret society, like they weren't going to show themselves for anything, or like he didn't care about like the attack on New York or whatever. Tom Holland, he was just a kid like developing his powers, on the ground in New York. um yeah, what do you do for Fantastic Four? I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know.
It goes back to like that. I don't know if you've seen this meme where you've seen the Eternals, right?
Oh, with the hand in the sky.
Yeah, that meme that always comes around. It has been 4 years since the Eternals, and
And the
yet they have not addressed the giant dead god sitting in the ocean, just jutting out of the planet. Just
and at this point, I don't know how much more time you have. I'm still good, but like at this point, we've just devolved into like every other piece of content on YouTube that's wildly successful of two guys tell you about what's wrong with the MCU.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, no, it's like it's what the fuck was I gonna say? I was going somewhere with this. No, yeah, it's what I think they're doing is they're introducing way too many characters. They keep doing the thing where they're introducing way too many characters and they're not building upon any of the ones that they already had established. There's no definitive, and then when you have like there's no definitive like I mean plan clearly, but it's like here they should have they're not wrapping up some of the other Avengers either. They're not like after the Hawkeye show, they should have had Hawkeye definitively say, "I'm retiring. I'm done. I'm like there's other superheroes out there." They should have had Hulk at the end of She-Hulk or something say like, "I'm not." I mean, they shouldn't be doing like just other versions of the same hero, but they should have like had these characters start to hang it up, you know? So now it's like you have just like way too many characters that are just lingering, kind of like, are they gonna get a continuation? Are we ever? That's the thing. It's like I start to see these new characters pop up and everything, and I'm like, are we even gonna ever see them again? You know?
yeah. It's
Um,
also like that other old meme where it's like Marvel fans sitting through 20 minutes of end credits just to get to one final post-credit scene where someone shows up and says, "I'm Skippy Bippy," and then instantly cuts to black, never see the character again. What are we doing here?
never gonna, never gonna. And it's like, and that's the thing too. And so they keep doing new stories with new characters, and what I also think is really stupid. They keep doing new, not just new. Like here's the new, like one character. They're doing teams of characters. The
Yeah,
Eternals was like 10 people. It's too
yeah.
much, guys. It's too much. Um,
Yeah, and we're never gonna see any of them again, except maybe Kit Harington, who wasn't even main cast, if they ever get the Blade movies up and running. So yeah,
it's insane. Like they can't keep doing, and then it's like then they're like just making shows and movies about like spin-offs of things that people never wanted. No way in hell am I going to turn on the Agatha show, and then it's like, what are you
I know, and it's crazy because I love WandaVision, but I don't care about whatever that show's doing. Like,
it's like, how about you give a story to the Better Call Saul guy, I forget his name, that was teased at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home as Scorpion years ago that never came. Like
yeah,
again, yeah, like you said, just things that we're never going to see again. And so it's like, and then the movies that's the thing. It's like then you get the new movies and then it's like, okay, here here's a new character. Um we're going to introduce like for example, Moon Knight, which I did like the premise of yes, he is a character living in London. So it's modern day, same timeline, but London. Good. There's an excuse as
Yeah.
to why he's not around. Like it's a different part of the world. It's completely different. Um, but then it's like we have to give his girlfriend powers. Like she got powers at the end. It's like no, no, you're doing a bad job just introducing this character. It's like don't do more. Um, yeah, and it's like never gonna see them again. Uh, and so now it's like when you watch these shows and these movies, it's like, is it they're doing then they're like connecting it to the MCU, and so it's like now they don't even if it's like, hey, this was a good movie enough on its own, it doesn't matter because they're connecting it all to the MCU, and it's like, well, I don't know if any of this is even going to matter in hindsight. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, you still there? Yeah.
No, it's not good. Not good at
Um,
all.
yeah. So I think, yeah, I think I gave my rant uh enough. This is my fill of Marvel complaining for the year. I so rarely want to talk about Marvel and superhero movies, but
Yeah.
I had to show up for this one.
For sure. No, I mean, it's probably going to be one of the most successful movies of the year,
Of
let alone the
course.
summer. So
Of
it's
course.
it's worth getting our 1 hour of hate out.
Right.
Yes.
And to be clear, if you like the movie, I'm very happy for you.
Oh
And
yes.
I'm not complaining about the superhero movies because they're woke or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
not doing that
We're
bit.
not that guy.
We're not doing that grift. And don't, for the love of God, please like and subscribe. But do not expect this to be regular content on the channel. This is like a once a year thing.
For
Um,
sure.
I guess let's just close on this. Um, is there is there anything that Marvel might have in the works that we think is going to actually happen? Is there anything that you're like, oh, okay, I'll watch that? And what do you think of like the reveal of last night that, oh, we're getting our DJ back?
Uh, Nothing in the pipeline that I know of that genuinely excites me. Like Marvel has not genuinely excited me since really like Endgame. Like that's it. I was intrigued by No Way Home because like many people I like instantly fell into like the nostalgia trap of seeing like Tobey Maguire and Alfred Molina coming back and all
Right,
that. But like beyond that, I haven't not a project that's really caught my eye. I mean, I did like WandaVision, but I wasn't necessarily like highly anticipating that. Same thing with Loki. But as terms of RDJ coming back, I was very upset to hear that. I think that man should stay. Like I said before, with Chris Evans, I think those core actors, Chris Evans, RDJ, and Mark Ruffalo, should just stay as far away from the MCU as possible. Just go out, live your life, do better movies. We know you can do better. We've seen better from you. Like, it's insane that like we just gave RDJ an Oscar out of the premise of like, yes, you're back.
we
You're
got him
doing the
back.
movie. Yes, you are a good actor. We remember this, which isn't to say he's bad in the MCU movies, but the experience of doing that is very like flattening for an actor. Whereas like in his role in Oppenheimer, he has room to do things, and like show off his talents, his craft. Whereas like we're just going right back to the drawing board with another
Right.
Avengers movie where he's fucking Doctor Doom. Like what are we doing?
Yeah, and it's like, oh God, how are they gonna? It's gonna have to, and like honestly, I don't even care that much. It's just, I mean, I don't even know. Yeah, I'm so uninvested at this point, and I'm probably not gonna watch a lot of this stuff going forward. I'll probably see the Avengers movies or whatever, but uh, yeah. So, but to me, it's like where my head just goes is like, shit, it's gonna have to be a whole multiverse thing again. Like that's where my head goes to. Um, and yeah, it reeks of desperation from Marvel. Um, I guess some fans are happy about it. I guess I mean, I don't know. Maybe my algorithm is a little tweaked towards this, but I just see a lot of people dunking on it right now. But
Me too. Yeah, I think we're in the same Twitter spaces.
yeah, I'm just seeing people dunk on it.
Yeah.
I thought it was very funny. Yeah, and it goes back to that thing, I guess, where I actually do care is something that people talk about a lot is, you lose a lot of great actors to the Marvel machine because they need the payday. And some of them ride the line well. I think I do wish Anthony Mackie wasn't so wrapped up in the Captain America of it all. I mean, good for him, he's getting paid, but from what I've seen him do outside of Marvel, he's such a great actor. Um,
No. Also,
but
like, Mahershala Ali has basically sunk a decade of his career where he could have been like doing anything. He's a two-time Oscar winner, and he's just vanished because he placed a bet on doing these Blade movies that he thought was going to be like the next big thing, and they've just been a dumpster fire, and we just haven't seen him. We haven't seen him since like what, Green Book?
right,
Like,
yeah, that's true.
yeah.
It's been a while. Yeah, and then it was like and then it's like you get the small indie director and then you give him the keys to the franchise and there was like rumors that Jordan Peele met with Marvel about X-Men and everyone was like, "No, no, no, not Jordan Peele.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't have him." Like
I mean, Chloe Zhao is like the poster child for this
right.
tragic story. Her movie goes from winning Best Picture to like a year later, and the Marvel machine makes her produce like one of the what's considered one of the worst Marvel movies of all time. And I'm not even a huge Eternals hater, but like just in terms of acclaim, yeah, the gulf is there. Like that's what it does to you as an auteur.
Right. It's so it's so sad. And like that's and like I'm not above enjoying a superhero movie, There's so much other stuff I like, but and I have no investment or desire to make this my entire channel or my podcast is talking about like just exclusively superhero shit. I don't care. Um
Yeah.
but what was I going to say? Yeah, I don't know. It's just fuck, I had a point I was gonna make. I'm not above liking superhero movies. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, but it's like I was just thinking about even, Thursday night was when Deadpool dropped and they had the big Comic-Con celebration and panel and everything about it. And then it's like I'm also watching in the next on YouTube in like the next room, they're having the boys panel for season 4, and I'm like, yeah, this is like my point being, there's things already out there that are doing like the subversive Deadpool thing better than them, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so and even the
And it's
boys.
funny.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, I was gonna say, and it's funny because even just thinking of other Marvel projects, like She-Hulk kind of did a similar. I don't know if you watched She-Hulk
Oh, I
on
got
Disney
about
Plus.
3 episodes in.
Yeah, if you finish it, it kind of does a similar thing. There's spoilers for She-Hulk, I guess, but like it ends with her like literally leaving the show
I
and then
did see
like
this.
finding Kevin Feige and like having a whole like on-screen argument with him and even like being revealed to what like a streaming show is. And it's like, come on, guys, like we gotta have more gas in the tank than just doing these Rick and Morty ass bits that are just stale, over
Right,
a decade old stale bits, you
right.
know?
And just it's yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. It's dated at this point. You're right.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm just like, and even like I was gonna say, it's like I love the boys, right? I think the boys is doing this. The boys is like the only subversive superhero thing that I will tolerate because I think it is genuinely so great. Like I have no interest. I didn't watch Invincible. Like I remember everyone was telling me, and I'm like, no, I gotta sit this one out. I'm just not. I don't have it in me to like get into another superhero thing. Um, but even with the boys, as much of a high as they're on, they like came out and were like, listen, next season is the last one, and they even know that like they can't keep. I mean, actually, I kind of take that back a little bit. They are milking it with these spin-offs now that they're announcing, but whatever. But yeah, it's all of your favorite franchises will eventually turn to shit. Is the lesson here?
Yes, it's true. I mean, like The Simpsons. That's a Franken show, right? That's going on. It's widely, even from people who like it, it's widely agreed that it hasn't been good in like 20 years, and it's still pumping out content every day, every week,
Right.
So maybe this is just how media is now. I don't know. I mean, you should check out Invincible. By the way, Invincible is really good.
I
It's
knew you were
it's
gonna say that.
it's really good. I actually think it's better than The Boys, actually.
Really?
Personally,
I
yeah.
think I think I put on the first episode a couple years ago when it first came out. I just don't have it in me to get into another superhero thing.
I get it. No, I get you. Superhero fatigue is real.
I'm
Absolutely.
sure it's good. Like I believe I'm not saying it's I just there's certain things where I'm just like I don't have it in me. But yeah, anyway, yeah, thank you so much, man, for coming on and talking about this. God, it's almost like a 2 hour rant. So this was good.
Yeah. Anytime, man. Next time, let's talk about a better movie for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, exactly.
One that we're like, we're stark raving about.
Exactly. Yeah, I gotta have like some positivity in my life. Last question before we go: do you think this is the worst movie you've seen all year?
All year?
Yeah.
Um, I'd have to think about that. That's crazy. No, no. I think there are movies I hate more that I saw
Okay.
this year. I really didn't like. Have you seen this movie? Well, there's two of them. There's two really bad horror movies I saw this year. Have you seen this movie called Sting?
I really liked Sting.
You liked Sting?
Yes, I liked Sting.
I really didn't like
Oh
Sting.
no.
It's a
I just
stupid spider in
I just
like a
talked about
weird.
it. I have a segment on it on my channel. I just talked about it last week. I didn't think I liked it.
Oh no, no! It's just the Blumhouse. I don't even know if it was a Blumhouse movie, but it's just
I
the
don't,
Blumhouse formula of like an Ooga Booga monster.
right.
Something crazy's happening with the Ooga Booga monster. Some jump scares, right? Like
I
I,
do
I, I really don't like that, especially when like I don't connect with any of the performances or anything like that. Yeah, and then the other one. Did you see Tarot?
Oh, was that the card horror movie, like the
Yeah,
tarot card?
yeah.
No, no, was that bad?
That's that bad because like I had like I was like watching it and I was like texting a friend. I was like in the back. It was an empty theater. I wasn't like bothering anyone. But like I was like texting my friend. I was like, what is the plan of this like ghost that's haunting them that they've upset? Like the first kill is like no, it's actually the second kill. It's like ghost plan number two. I lure them to the train tracks and then I jump out and say boo so he falls just in time and gets run over by the train. That was like that was your big plan to murder this person. Like
I
for
have
ancient
to
evil I would hope that you'd have better ideas of killing people, and then the movie eventually just devolves into Haunted Mansion and it's like what are we doing, like.
I might have to watch that.
Yeah.
Because that sounds so bad. Yeah, I think I still put the one movie I still have because I keep a list of all the
Okay.
movies in the year on my letterboxed. I still have Unfrosted below this
Oh, you
movie.
know what, that was really bad. that
I
that 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 was
and
really bad.
and part of it is all of the stuff around Jerry Seinfeld recently. I admit that's clouding my judgment a little bit, but I am there's something about entitled comedians that I hate so much, and just the way that in the movie, like the opening scene where he's sitting and like it's like a reveal, like, oh my god, it's Jerry Seinfeld. Like he's like this messiah, this amazing, like legendary actor, and I'm like, because I was never a big Seinfeld fan. I never really watched Seinfeld anyway. I was like, oh fuck you, like you scumbag, like self-important prick. It was all Larry David. He was the G. Um, so I was on that train for a while, but I think that is the only movie I have worse than Deadpool 3.
One more movie, I have to see if I can find it. I saw it like a few months ago, like maybe 5 months ago, that was really bad. It was this very low low budget movie. Let me quickly double check. It was like almost like it wanted to be a Tyler Perry movie, but it wasn't a Tyler Perry movie, but it was operating in that vein, you might
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Um, Let me see if I can find my old ticket stub. No, no, it doesn't save. I'm pretty sure I saw it at a Regal and it doesn't save back that far. If I can find the title, I'll let you know. But like basically, yeah, it was like picture the worst possible Tyler Perry movie that you can imagine, and then like subtract all of the budget that he can muster as a successful actor, where it's just like very poor sound, awful takes, just like lighting is like slightly off, and like nobody knows what they're doing, and it's just painfully unfunny jokes. If I find the title, I'll send it to you so you can put it in the show notes. But that is also probably one of the worst movies I've seen
And this
this
was in a
year
theater.
ever. Yeah, it was at like Regal. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, I try to like I'll watch like a lot of VOD slop too if I find it.
Oh,
Um
same here. Sometimes you find a gem though on
oh
like
yeah. No,
VOD.
I like schlock.
Yeah. Like last year I saw this movie called Acid Man. I don't know
Ooh.
if you've heard of it, starring
No, but
Thomas
I
Hayden Church.
really. Wait. Oh my
Yeah,
god. No shit.
that was a straight to VOD movie. No one heard of it, but I kind of liked it. It's like okay, but it's kind of like I don't know. I viewed it as very in conversation with like talking about QAnon as a phenomenon, and also like my friend who I showed it to read in kind of just like dealing with like a older parent who's starting to like lose it a little bit.
Mhm.
So like it's a story of like this woman reconnecting with her estranged father, and her father turns out he's like divorced from her mom, and like he just said she hasn't talked to him in years. He's like a big UFO guy.
Okay.
And so like she tries to like meet him where he's at and see what he's doing in life and forge something because but as you find out, she is pregnant.
Uh-huh.
And so she's trying to like it's like the cycle of generations, it's like so she's like trying not to lose touch with her father so that way she can like learn how to be a better parent for the child that she's going to have, that kind of thing. And like
Oh.
you see like how he's dealing with his world, and how like it's a conversation around mental illness and how um certain kinds of people can latch on to certain kinds of like conspiracy theories and things like that. And yeah, I liked it. You should check it out.
Yeah, I have it. I just found it on Letterbox. Yeah, this looks pretty good actually. I'll
Yeah.
put it on the watch list. Nice. Yeah, no, if I could recommend one slop thing to you that I think was
Great.
genuinely a gem that I found, was I did this thing where sometimes I like to, if I'm bored sitting in my office, Just Watch, the website.
No.
Basically, and it's an app that will tell you like where things are streaming. If
Oh,
you
you
like,
showed me this. Yes, yes.
what's that?
You
Oh,
showed me
yes, I
the
did.
app last
Yeah,
time
but
we were
it
there.
also has
Yes.
this really cool feature where you can set it to all new releases and just scroll through like
Ooh.
and like filter through different streaming services because
Oh, that might be useful.
there's so
Yeah.
much shit that gets released scam movies that are like that I'm just so fascinated in that no one ever like watches or talks about, So a lot of times it's like rip-offs to like IP that is like fair use or something. But sometimes I'll just scroll through that and I'll just see like what movies were released on like Amazon. Amazon Prime gets a lot of them where it's like, what is this? Like someone like actually made this movie, and there was a
Yeah.
movie that I found. Was it last year? I think it was last year. I have to like urge you to seek this out. It's called The Bigfoot Trap.
I think did Red Letter Media talk about this?
No, they didn't. Um,
They didn't.
but
Okay.
I just happened to find it because I was looking for I wanted to watch like some new movies, and it just you're judging the books by the cover, right? I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
Bigfoot Trap, like a Bigfoot movie. Um, and it was a low budget thing, and I actually saw in like very low budget indie, right? And I actually did look up the director. He's not like a scam director. He's not like those studios like that do like the Winnie the Pooh horror movies. Like it's not one of those. Um, he was a genuine guy. And he just premiered it at some little horror festival or something. Uh, Unironically, the movie was extremely profound, and it was on my top 10 of 2023. It's basically about this guy who is like a BuzzFeed journalist, and he goes to do like basically like a hit piece or like a mocking piece about this Bigfoot hunter that's like a dumb redneck in the woods, but like live streams and like sells t-shirts and shit, right? Um and basically these two guys, like, it kind of makes this very profound message on like social media and the attention economy, where these two guys, like, one's clearly like kind of representing like the liberal kind of thing, and the other guy's like the stand in for like the MAGA right conservative type like craziness. And it makes this amazing like comparison about like how these two characters, like, basically how it's about the attention economy, and like how they both need to grift to get clicks, and they're both not doing what they really want to do with their content. And as like someone that's so into the internet, I was like, this is the most profound commentary on social media and I've ever seen.
Wow, that sounds pretty interesting. I'll
Yeah,
check it out.
because it's like, I mean, I'm reaching a little bit, like, it's
Yeah.
there. I promise it's there in the movie, but it's like, it's basically like, because the Bigfoot guy is like, look, it's not really a spoiler, but I'm faking these Bigfoot sightings to fund my channel because I believe I can find the real thing, but I have to fake it to get money to fund my operation. And
Yeah.
then the BuzzFeed guy is like, "Hey, I really wanted to write about like history and stuff, but that doesn't get clicks and doesn't make money, so I'm forced to do like this cringy like BuzzFeed YouTube show that I just make fun of people like in flat earthers and shit." Like, and it's kind of like a sweet message. Like, these guys are like in the woods and they kind of just realize like they're both just grifting because that's what they have to do. And it makes this really sweet comparison of these two. I don't know, but I loved it.
Yeah. No, it sounds good. I'd definitely check it out.
But
Uh,
yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
but yeah, thank you so much again, Remington, for coming on. It's the 2 hour mark, so I think we did good work here. But
Sure.
but yeah, patreon.com/Dan Ivy, folks. I don't know how I'll release this yet. Maybe this will just be the whole podcast episode. Who knows? Um, but it will be up on the channel for you know what I like? I like that I don't have I have no idea if anyone's been chatting this entire time. So I so I don't have to say I don't have to see if anyone said mean things until after. Um, but all right, man.
There's,
Where can the people find you if you want them to
you can
find you?
you can find me at x.com at angrier every day. There you will see me talk about the politics that are facing our nation and give off hot movie takes.
Nice. All right, man. Thank you so much. We will see you next time, and have a good one out there.
You too, Dan.